What is up, guys? Winter Kills here. Welcome back to another post-commentary duel video. We've got Danger Orcust versus Atlantean Mermail. It's a matchup I don't think I've had on the channel yet, surprisingly enough. I've had a lot of these decks play against other decks, but I don't think we've had them play against each other yet. Now, both of these decks are decks that I've been trying to make a lot of progress on. I've been finding out new tech cards and other choice cards to be playing in Orcust, in the main deck and extra deck. We're getting an updated profile on that soon. I've just done test hand videos for both of these decks. Should be annotated up at the top right. You can click that little eye symbol if you want to watch those later, or they'll be annotated at the end of the video if you want to check them out. And I've been doing tons and tons of refinement to the Mermail deck, if you will. And I think it's in a place where I'm like really happy with it. The Sekka's Light build has been working very well. Not playing the Azathoth build in the Danger deck, obviously. Not playing Azathoth or Mermail Orcust. I would just rather not play that at all. I just, at that point, just play regular Orcust with the Phantom Knight stuff at that point. Like, just do that. Don't put it into Mermail. I don't know why people started doing that. I mean, I guess it works, but it's just not for me, Chief. It really isn't. So yeah, he's gonna go ahead and get started with his plays here. I'm running Foolish Rhoda and a Danger play into Mothman. Overall, a pretty standard start for Orcust, I would say. I think he may overextended here just a little bit. Just trying to basically get that Longyearsu bomber on the field. Now, I think once the Counter Trap and Dingirsu come out, the play style of this deck gets a lot better. It will not rely on Azathoth, in my opinion, to win games. Hopefully that card, well, the Phantom Knight stuff will be dealt with in some way, shape, or form on the ban list, and this deck can sort of, you know, have access to its high ceiling of playstyle that it's always had access to, and I think the Azathoth engine sort of takes away from that, in my personal opinion, because you have so many amazing link plays and synchro plays you can do turn one, soon to be had with Ixie's plays, you know, setting your counter traps, getting your field spell out, like, just tons of stuff that you'll have access to turn one, and so many other awesome engines to take advantage of. The Danger engine, you know, Dark Warriors like Armageddon Knight, Greffer, Ibli, Formud Skipper, Scrap Recycler, thinking about playing Krishan Rosnix, even thought about playing the Destrudo engine to have access to shooting Riser Dragon, still trying to figure out how I want to incorporate that. Even had some people tell me about teching in Krishan Rosnix, which is something I still want to try and haven't implemented yet for this video, but I do want to try that going forward because I think it does have some potential to be able to get that extra token on field and be able to recycle that Rosnix with your any of your Orcust monsters, which is just super cool. So thanks for some of the feedback and some of the tips on those things. And yeah, quick shout out though, I might as well mention, if you're interested in any of these sleeves or this playmat we're using, check out Imperium Duelist, guys. They provide amazing sleeves, like these Pro Edition non-effect sleeves we're rocking on both decks, and the grape purple looking so good, the Carnage red sleeves with the charm effect, the heart effect or whatever, I believe it's called charm. I really like those on the extra deck lately. The contrast between the blue link monsters and the red sleeves just looks absolutely clean. So if you want to pick any of that stuff up, feel free to do so down in the description below. You can get 10% off with that discount code if you'd so desire. But anyways, going basically to the classic Summon Sorcerer's play we're all used to seeing at this point, but of course it is going to end on a different field because I'm opting not to run the Azathoth engine. A lot of people ask me, you know, I'm not running it, you know, why aren't I running it? It's not because I don't think it's good, it's just and I've talked to several other people. I even had someone message me on Twitter. You know, we were going back and forth with ideas for the deck. He said he was going to YCS Atlanta, wanted some tips and stuff for his build and things of that nature. And I'm like, if you're going, you might want to run the Azathoth build. And he said something that I kind of agree with. He's like, this deck ceiling is way too high to have to rely on something like that to win. Which is, I agree with 100%, even though I still can't deny the power of the Azathoth engine to be able just to lock your opponent out of playing for a turn, which is just really stupid. And like I said, hopefully that will be dealt with on the ban list, and then I can continue playing the deck as I've been playing it without any worries. And theoretically, even if he was playing the Azathoth build here, I would have just outed it immediately with that Gamma Seal, which I'm also playing 2 copies of in my Mermail build. Currently, not 3. I think 3 is too much. I just want to reduce the chance of opening 2, just because discarding them oftentimes, I just don't like doing it. I just feel as it's a pretty big waste. So I clear the Bomber Dragon, no problem. He does, however, have a Called by the Grave for my Dragoon, stopping me from popping off just a little bit. Having that Prince in hand to be able to discard off this Megalo Summon would have been nice. Just a little bit of extra damage, maybe link me into a Mistar Boy, and then we can play a little bit of Yu-Gi-Oh here. So now that the Longirsu is not linked, it can be destroyed by card effect. So he's going to quickly chain in response to that infantry to be able to shuffle 2 banished machines back in the deck. He doesn't have to send a linked monster. He can just do that shuffle effect, might as well, just to put his resources back into his deck. So Megalo will swing over Gamma Seal, and Undyne will take a shot at him for 1200 as well. And yeah, like I said, that Called by Dragoons pretty hurt pretty bad, I should say. I cannot speak right now. Now using Harp Horror on his turn, still having the field spell up, which is pretty nice. I either clear the field spell or I don't, and then I'm still in a bad spot. Not being able to beat over his Longirsu, which I'd rather not leave that on his field to link climb with, just as a free link 3 that he can use to go into an Orcustrion, or any other link monster that he so chooses, and then have the option to revive it back out of the grave for free. So I believe getting a little bit ahead of himself there, trying to link right into Galatea, realizing he needs another monster to do so. Now going into Galatea via that World Wand, summoning out that Harp Horror from his banishment zone, and here has a couple options. He does have a live symbol skeleton engraved, so that could bring back Longirsu. We know that. Not sure what else is in the grave at the moment. He might have a live Brass Bombard engraved as well, because I think we saw him send that turn 1, kind of put himself in an awkward position where having to have the Bombard set up with the Harp Horror in hand, but also having a Danger Mothman. So he sort of like, do I use the Mothman, or do I not use it before I use the Bombard, and then just draw a card and discard it immediately and sort of not get any value out of it, unless you would have drawn into something like Malicious, which you can't really predict those types of things. So right here, having Galatea and having the Longirsu, he's going to just go into battle phase, figuring out there's really nothing else he should do at the moment. So I'll take 100 over the Megalo and then 600 over the Undyne. I was thinking about during my turn tributing Undyne for a double attack, or maybe linking into a Mistar Boy afterwards, which I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I figured it would have just been best to leave those 2 monsters. I gotta get better at resource management when it comes to Mermails. When it comes to Orcust, when it comes to a lot of decks, I have a tendency to like to overextend. Not because I think it's a good idea, just because it's fun to overextend sometimes. So I think I top deck a Teus for turn, which is really, really nice. But unfortunately, I'm discarding a Pike off of it, and I grab Abyss Osea, a new card that I'm trying out. Now, so far I've been really liking it, because in any other situation, this Osea would be perhaps a Gund. Maybe I wouldn't even have another target left in deck with the previous builds I've been playing, maybe 1 Gund and 1 Mander. You know, I'd have no targets really to search here. So instead, I'm just using this Osea to sort of wall up, if you will. And if I would have access to like an Aqua Spirit at this point, we'd be in business, because I could just summon the Aqua Spirit, link the Aqua Spirit and Mander away from a Star Boy, use Mander to bump up Osea and Gund to level 4, make a rank 4, either make Hope Woven or Bahamut Shark or Abyss Dweller, and I'd be in a really good spot. It's just I'm seeing Osea at this really unfortunate time, and just really only allowing myself to wall up right now. I could go into a Mistar Boy, but if I do that, it's going to be able to send it to the grave. And I guess also perhaps in this position, if I did have that Aqua Spirit, I'd have to worry about that Longirsu, because he's sort of locking me into that zone, and then he just send whatever linked card I have to the graveyard, whilst recycling machines to his deck. So kind of tricky that Longirsu is. Kind of tricky. card to deal with a lot of the time. So he goes ahead and uses Harpour and Grave here to summon out Symbol Skeleton. And I believe he also ends up using the Galatea here to go ahead and recycle that World Wand. He's going to go ahead and set an Orcust spell or trap. Now in the future, when we have Orchestrated Climax to work with the counter trap, it's going to change the way I'm going to sort of set up the deck in a little bit. Just in a couple of ways. I think, because the way I see it best is, you know, having your normal field of perhaps Bomber Longirsu, or maybe Orcustrion Longirsu with multiple disruptions in your graveyard, having that Dingirsu to bring back, having your counter traps, and that's why I would like to maybe play multiple more copies of the field spell than I'm playing now, because I feel like having the option to draw into that card sooner during your first turn, then having the luxury to use your Galatea to go ahead and set that counter trap turn 1 would just prove for a better first turn play, instead of having to hope you hard draw your counter trap or hard draw your field spell. Because why do that when you could just play more copies and just increase your chances overall at seeing them turn 1. Obviously that can create some consistency issues. I haven't done too much testing with the new Orcust stuff yet, because I still love the way it plays in a TCG legal form. As you see, he resolves that reasoning there. I believe I ended up calling 4, and he ends up milling right into a Jackalope. It's really tough to decide what to call against this deck. In most cases, it really doesn't matter. I guess I would have to get really lucky and call the number of an Orcust monster he's already used. Which I believe he used Harpour this turn already, so I think that's why I went and called 4. So he's using the World Wand here to summon out Harpour, obviously needing that monster to turn to defense with Borrelsword to get the full use out of it. Now, earlier, one thing I forgot and didn't really pay attention to when I was editing this video, doing all the other stuff to it, that he used Orcust Nightmare to send World Wand and targeted Borrelsword with it. So Borrelsword, as it sits right now, is 3,800, which absolutely makes a huge difference in this matchup, since he just used Longirsu's effect to recycle 2 of his Banished Machines back into his deck. Now keep in mind, if I was playing that Christian Rosenix, that could be an additional extender just to put back into the deck, which is again something I might do, and it's a great target to send off Scrap Recycler. It's also a card that you could send off Mathematician. I know some people have been asking me, you know, for replacement cards for things like Scrap Recycler, because some people don't have access to them, or danger cards. I think Mathematician's a good card. Just any monster you can get your hands on that's a walking Foolish Burial really helps your cause in this deck. Just that's all you need. You need Mathematician, Scrap Recycler, Armageddonite, Dark Grepher, like any of these cards will work. So normaling the Nightmare Corruptor Ibly now, linking into Mermaid, not giving me the Ibly because that would be pretty counterproductive, and then using Mermaid to discard Malicious of all cards to summon out Orcust Nightmare, and then using Malicious here to summon out the last copy of Malicious. Now, a lot of people might question why I'm playing Malicious again, and as I said in the test stand video, I just liked having an additional extender in my graveyard sometimes to help really push those plays over the edge that you need to sort of go through. Because sometimes you just run out of Orcust monsters too fast, and then you're sort of just treading water at that point, and you just don't really have any other plays to make. So having that extra Malicious there is nice, and that's one of the reasons why I might also go to the Christian Rosenix. And as I said earlier, the tech about the Shooting Riser Dragon and Destrudo. Now, Shooting Riser Dragon says you can Foolish any monster lower than its current level, which can obviously dump any Orcust to the grave, and then it drops its level via, you know, by the number of the level monster that you sent. And you can't use that monster's name that turn. You can't use its effect, but I'm thinking you could possibly use it just to load your grave for next turn, and then you would have perhaps you know, a Formula Synchron on your field to be able to synchro into something during your opponent's turn, possibly a Savage Dragon, or any other good level 7 or 8 synchros that might prove a problem for your opponent to deal with. Maybe Black Rose Dragon, I was thinking, but that wouldn't work too well, even if you had Longirsu Bomber. Maybe if you had Orcustrion Longirsu, because your field would just stick to the field. Yeah, your field would stick to the field because they cannot be destroyed by card effects. So using that Boral Sword to cut the Osea down to 550, attacking over 3,800, and then using, you know, the Harpoor and the other Long Girsu that he hadn't used the effect with to destroy the other two monsters, and then swinging in for another maybe like 4,350 or something, because it was gaining 550 from the Osea. So a very close call there, but an OTK nonetheless. I'm going to go ahead and get started here with Prince, sending Dragoons, adding Dragoons, Megalo, and then resolving a Sekka's Light, using its other effect to put back Osea. Like Sekka's Light is just such a great card here. I think it works really well. Allows you to play all these other good engines, and just really helps to boost consistency. When you see the card, obviously, you do have to draw into that 3 of the only draw card in the entire deck, so sometimes it can be a little risky, but I think it pays off most of the time. I believe I drew the Lapis Dragon off of that Sekka's Light effect, the effect to return and draw. So I just opted to summon it there. Now I opened double infantry too, which is kind of unlucky. Would rather not be discarding double infantry here to, you know, to literally no effect, but I'm just trying my hardest to set up a VFD play, because I know it would be very, very devastating for him to have to deal with turn 1 here. So draw phase, I'm going to use its effect to declare dark. And you can't use any dark effects, can't attack with dark monsters, and everything that hits this field becomes dark. Not that it would need to really anyways, because they're probably always going to be dark monsters. However, he still can resolve a Foolish Burial, which is nice. So sending a Harpoor to the grave, and then resolving the Allure of Darkness. Allure of Darkness is a card that I, for the longest time, wasn't playing any of, and then I started to at the moment now just playing a 1-of, because it can set up your banish zone for cards like World 1 early on. When you don't have a really loaded banish zone, you can just sort of set that up. Might play 2 copies going forward, I don't know, because it isn't a hard once per turn like Orchestrated Return is, and sometimes you just need that consistency boost to dig you deeper into some cards. Going to just normal summon the Brass Bombard and just link it into a Link Karibo, because that's all you really can do without using any effects. Dug a couple cards deep, set up his grave for next turn, put a Link Karibo on board. I would say that's not too bad, and it's a pretty productive turn as far as VFD is concerned on my field. Yeah, so Abyss Manor just coming in clutch to change their levels to level 9, to be able just to go into that card Mermails wouldn't have access to like really any other way. I guess if VFD wasn't a card, then it wouldn't be a thing. I don't really like VFD. It's just such a busted card. It's so unfair in some situations. The fact that people can like rank up into this card during your opponent's turn with the rank up spell is just another reason why I think it should just go altogether. Resolving another Sekka's Light here, with the Undying effect going through as well, putting back that controller I just added. So just easy choice with that Sekka's Light. Just get it out of my hand. I don't want to see it. And resolving a Teus now. Teus discarding Prince and resolving the Gund, and the Prince summoning the Dragoons from the grave. Now that's one of the reasons why I've come to like Undying, is because it's just very versatile. It can put any water to your grave, whether it be a Swap Frog or a Ronin you might need, or it could put a Dragoons in grave to get any sort of Sea-Sip in your hand that you need. A lot of times I find myself adding Prince off that Dragoons to be able to discard off something like Megalo or Teus to revive that Dragoons back out of the grave for an extra body for either a Synchro, a Xyz, or a Link Summon. I find that coming in very clutch sometimes. Now here I'm debating on what I should do. Do I go into a Saryuja? Do I try to set up some other sort of rank 4 play? But here I decide to go for the Saryuja, and I still, as it stands, sort of have one undecided extra deck spot. Not sure what I'm going to do with it. I'm either thinking number 37 Hope Woven, I'm either thinking Armory Arm, Krishan Quandax, maybe some other Link monster like Borreload or Unicorn, some like, you know, good Link 3 monster that I could have access to. Still sort of undecided at this point in time though. So resolving the Saryuja here after drawing into 4 cards. I drew pretty well off the Saryuja. And like I said, playing Saryuja as a 1-of right now. I use Saryuja's effect though to special summon Pike from my hand. That'll activate Pike. I'm going to discard the Fishborg launcher and add Osea to hand. And summoning Megalo, discarding Gun and Osea, and they can just make way more plays there. And I have the launcher. Obviously couldn't use launcher because VFD is dark, but I could use this effect to make everything water and then I'm good to go, which is really nice synergy there. Now, he opened up really, really well. Basically, in most cases, any point where you open up Ibly going first, you're going to have a pretty productive turn. So going Mermaid Chainlink 1, Ibly Chainlink 2, discarding Harp Horror, summoning out Orcust Nightmare. So just a very, very strong turn, at least to start to it anyways. Now going to play the field spell that he also hard drew this turn. And again, if this was post Dark Neostorm, that would just be basically a free counter trap here off of that Galatea. Screw getting the draw card turn 1, especially when you open up this decent. You know, just go ahead and grab that counter trap and just solidify that stronger first turn board. And then the other thing I'm trying to figure out how to work in is the Dingirsu play, because a lot of times you have to overlay it over a Galatea or a Longirsu, and that drops his link rating obviously down to 1, which makes it harder to link summon into bigger monsters just so you can get that card into your graveyard. Although I've done some testing with it on stream, and it's not that bad, but in some cases it can be kind of weird. So, doing a bit of a different play here, going Summon Sorceress, and then World Wand to revive that Nightmare, and then Summon Sorceress summoning out the Brass Bombard, trying to make some sort of synchro play here. Now, yes, he could go for the standard Longirsu Bomber, but since Ibly is on my field, that sort of takes pressure off that play, at least for the most part. Linking into Orcustrion, and then going into Borreload Savage Dragon here to go grab the Summon Sorceress out of grave. Now, with the Orcustrion in this position, any link monster that I make will force me to use at least 2 to 3 zones, and then potentially covering every main monster zone I have with Orcustrion's effect. Which is really bad. So he basically has a skill drain on field on top of a negation. And I cannot summon any other monsters other than, I cannot special summon monsters other than link monsters, which really, really hurts. Like, it hurts pretty bad, actually, I would say. So I really have no other choice at this point in time other than to summon, or just to go into battle phase and crash my Ibly. That's all I really can do. Really can't do much else. So I go and crash it into the last attack monster, which is at 3,000, unfortunately. And I take the 3,000, and I go ahead and just continue on here in main phase 2. Now, he does have 3 Banished Machine monsters. I believe he moved them to a point where they're off camera slightly. So I do apologize for that. So his Longirsu, or his Orcustrion, is still technically live. And yeah, so I get started with the swap, discarding Ronin, and then sending swap. Now using the Undyne. I'm just trying to bait out the Savage Dragon in some way, shape, or form. And then Undyne activates. I add Controller, attempting to activate Dragoons here. It's going to negate that, dropping those counters down to 2. And I have the Gamma Seal. Now you're probably wondering, why didn't I Gamma Seal the Savage Dragon? Because if I don't Gamma Seal the Savage Dragon, the Orcustrion becomes an even bigger problem, because I have to pretty much go into Saryuja at this point to sort of, you know, change how I'm going to make my plays, which is really unfortunate. And if I don't go into, if I don't Gamma Seal the Orcustrion, obviously I would be able to get the draw effect, but pretty much anything I do after that is at risk of just getting stopped completely, because anything that goes underneath that Saryuja would just get negated and drop to 0 attack and defense, and that's like a permanent thing too. Luckily, I draw pretty well off it though, and I'm able to special summon the Neptibus off of it and send Dragoons, add Dragoons Megalo. Now I guess you know, I could have, if technically I didn't have the Gamma Seal or whatever, or if I would have Gamma Sealed, you know, something else. The Savage Dragon, I guess I could have sent Infantry, but then my turn sort of becomes less, you know, good, I should say. And even if you would have went for the Longirsu Bomber play, I would have had the Kaiju for it anyways, and I could have, you know, just gone into battle phase, crash for 3k or 25, over into the Longirsu. And now I'm going to head and use, I think I discarded Gund and Osea here off of this Megalo. I'm debating on what I want to revive. I'm going to revive the Teus. I was thinking maybe there was some reason I might want to revive the Osea, but not at this current point in time. Adding a Dragoons, or adding a Lapis Dragon, because I discarded Gund and Dragoons off that Megalo, not Osea. Osea was already in the grave. And now going in for Coral Dragon discarding Neptibus, Neptibus reviving the Dragoons. Going to destroy the Savage Dragon, no choice other than to get rid of that. I could have got rid of the field spell. I could have got rid of the Gamma Seal. Could have done a lot of things. That Coral Dragon being boosted up to 27, and this Gaios being boosted up to 31, which is kind of nice as well. And of course, I've already used my battle phase to clear Ibly. That turn there probably could have played out in numerous different ways. You could have made a completely different ending field. You could have made a Bomber Longirsu. You could have made, Longirsu or Orcust Savage Dragon, which, to be honest, which I think was still a pretty fair play to make. Mainly because, again, with me having to make my Starboy or Saryuja to sort of make a productive turn, he forces me into just running into a skill drain, which is something that I really don't want to do. So going to use Harp Horror now to summon a Orcust from deck. And there was also a cut earlier in this video where I think there was an error we had while playing out the turn, recording error. So some of the monsters that he got shuffled back in were stayed in the deck when they shouldn't have stayed in the deck, so he should technically have more banished machine monsters right now, and I do apologize for that. That was just something we completely forgot about, and just forgets about the fact that he links my Gamma Seal into his grave, even though that they're both in the same sleeve, so I guess you can see why that might be confusing. But anyways, it really doesn't change the way this turn plays out too much to begin with, because he uses Symbol Skeleton to put Orcust in that zone that Saryuja points to, boosting Orcust up to 33, no longer allowing me to be able to negate it with the Gaios, which is the most important thing, because he still was able to get those 3 banished machines to his to his banish zone, which technically he should have like 6 at this point, but again, there was a recording error and we forgot to sort of reset, if you will. And that's just our fault, more so my fault, and I do apologize for that. So, able to swing in over 2 monsters that I had that had 0 attack. The Saryuja having 0, and the Gaios having 0. And I have a Sekka's Light for turn, which is really, really strong. And I just got so lucky with that card. Normal summoning Deep Sea Diva now, going for infantry, and I also think I have Gen X ally Birdman in hand as well. I think those are like 2 of my draws off that Sekka's Light. I think I drew Birdman and Diva, which are just like really just 2 good cards you want to see together. 2 really good cards, I should say. And I have a lot of potential here. Use Birdman to bounce back the Diva. And I still have to worry about this Orcust. Well, not really, I guess, because he has no banished machines. Even though I think theoretically he should, I don't think it makes too big of a difference, because at this point he could just negate my Birdman. That's not really going to make too big of a deal. Yeah, so basically allowing me to resolve Prince here. And Prince is going to send the last 2 Atlanteans in my deck, which is 1 marksman and 1 infantry. So I send infantry, add marksman. Infantry is going to destroy the field spell, I believe. Yeah, so he can't sort of disrupt me at all anymore, even if he did have more banished machines. He can't interrupt any more plays from here on out. And since I didn't play that Neptibus in a zone a Link Monster points to, it would be completely safe from Orcust otherwise. And I guess if I would have seen that he would add banished machines, I would have probably placed the infantry in a different position, since technically it is linked via Galatea. But overall, I don't think it will make too big of a difference here. Now, linking into a Bryonic. Which, speaking of Bryonic, my DT actually just came in the mail today, which is absolutely super cool because it looks so good in that Imperium Duelist Carnage red sleeve. I'm not even like joking. It looks so good. It's such a fantastic looking card overall, no matter what sleeve you put it in. But just the red sleeve makes it look really, really nice. Now going into Whale with Diva and Bryo, to be able to swing in for tons of game, and even if it's not, I'm like, I got the Red Eyes Flare, but it does end up being game, since all my monsters are boosted up by 500 attack and defense. So yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Mermail's taking the match 2-1 against Danger Orcust. Both of us probably could have played a little bit better in both of those games, or should say in all of those games. But oh well. Getting better with both these decks will come with time. I still think I'm not the greatest Mermail player. I don't think I ever was. Not even close. Actually, not even close at all. Some people call me the Mermail Master. I don't know why. I'm definitely not that. I just like playing the deck and trying to get better with all these decks has been certainly a balancing act lately, especially helping my brother learn some of these decks as well to be able to get you guys some great matches. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to check out Imperium Duelist if you haven't done so already in the description below, and you can use that code to save 10% if you'd like. It's Winter Kills 10 off. You can use that at checkout. Join Discord and follow me on Twitch if you haven't already also. And if you want to see some test stand videos with either Mermail or Danger Orcust, both the decks that were featured in this video, just in a couple seconds from now, they should be popping up on the screen for you to click on if you want to go check those out for yourself. Anyways, guys, Winter Kills signing out. We'll see ya in the next one.